What if the reason physicists haven't been able to find the ultimate theory of everything is simply because they keep leaving the most important variable out of their equations?
And that variable being you.
Right, you. I mean, usually when we talk about a unified theory of physics, the immediate expectation is, cold, hard math.
Yeah, exactly.
You picture brilliant minds at CERN or MIT trying to calculate the exact mass of a proton or,
Yeah.
like, the precise curvature of a black hole.
All hoping to finally point to one single line of math and say, there it is, the universe is completely solved.
Exactly. But it never quite works out that way, does it?
Well, no, because the scientific method inherently trains us to look for objective, measurable, and entirely independent phenomena.
Hmm.
We basically want to leave the observer out of the equation entirely, just to ensure the data is pristine. Traditional physics wants a universe that functions perfectly whether a human is actually looking at it or not.
But today, we are looking at a conceptual map developed by an author identified as MGM, and it essentially takes that objective, detached view of physics and, well, just throws it completely out the window.
It really does. It's a massive pivot.
It proposes that the theory of everything isn't some static mathematical equation waiting to be solved on a chalkboard.
Hmm.
Instead, it is this dynamic, infinite circulation of energy driven entirely by the one thing physics usually tries to ignore.
Consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah.
Which is just an absolute paradigm shift, because instead of assuming you, the listener, are just a passive biological byproduct of this mechanical universe, this framework places your subjective experience at the exact center of reality creation.
And that is our mission for this deep dive today. We're going to explore this utterly fascinating framework that takes the physical states of matter, so solid, liquid, and gas,
Right.
alongside massive cosmic phenomena like dark matter and dark energy. And it maps them directly onto your own human experience, your body, your mind, and your spirit. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to really grasp what MGM is proposing here, I want you to imagine yourself right now, not just as a person sitting in a car or walking down the street, but as a literal breathing cosmological model.
Though we should probably clarify right up front, MGM isn't claiming your biological brain literally generates the astrophysical dark matter holding the Andromeda galaxy together.
Right, yeah, no, this is a conceptual map.
Yeah.
It borrows the mechanics of physics to explain the mechanics of human consciousness.
Exactly. And to understand how this map functions, we really have to establish the outer boundaries of your existence first. We have to look at the extremes.
Okay, so where do we start?
Let's start with the physical body. In MGM's framework, your body is mapped perfectly to classical physics and general relativity. It acts as the solid.
Like the physical hardware of your
The
life.
machinery, yeah.
Uh.
Think about how a solid object behaves in the physical world. It's completely deterministic. It follows a very clear cause and effect reality.
Right, like if you trip on the sidewalk, gravity pulls you down,
Yeah.
and you scrape your knee.
Exactly. There is a totally predictable reaction to physical forces. Your body is created by heavy masses. As that famous Carl Sagan quote goes, you are star stuff.
Their stuff, yeah.
And because of that dense mass, your physical form is completely governed by gravity. It stays planted on this planet, moving through curved space-time.
It's also completely bound by time, right? I mean, the text refers to this as relativistic time.
Yes.
The body is just stubborn. It ages. It moves relentlessly from the past into the present and toward the future. A solid has very defined boundaries, a rigid structure, and occupies a very specific, undeniable place in space.
Right. If you are sitting in a chair, you cannot simultaneously be in the kitchen.
Oh, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that is the crucial limitation of the solid state. It is highly localized.
Okay, so that's the body. That's the solid. What's the other extreme?
So now we look at the complete opposite end of the spectrum in this framework, which is the spirit. This is where we leave the world of dropping an apple and watching it fall, and we enter the realm of pure quantum mechanics.
This is where the rules of reality get incredibly weird.
Very weird. In this conceptual map, the spirit is mapped to the state of gas or ether, and it correlates directly to cosmic dark energy.
Okay, so a gas.
Yeah. And unlike the solid, predictable body, the spirit is pure potential. It is entirely probabilistic. In quantum mechanics, before a particle is measured, it exists in a state of superposition.
Meaning it could be anywhere or anything.
Right. It isn't in one specific place. It is a vast field of mathematical possibilities.
So it's non-local. It's essentially entangled with everything else.
Yes. Distance simply doesn't exist in that state. And then while your physical body is trapped aging from past to future, the spirit operates in what the text calls the eternal now, or fixed time.
The eternal now. I like that.
Yeah, in many quantum field equations, time isn't a flowing river, it is just a fixed background. This aligns perfectly with the idea of the spirit, or dark energy, acting as this ever-present, unchanging pressure that exists entirely outside the aging process of the physical world.
It just sort of permeates every...
Exactly, it pushes outward, much like dark energy accelerates the expansion of the universe, filling all the empty space between the atoms of your body.
Well, wait, I need to stop you there for a second.
Yeah.
Because mapping human thoughts or the spirit to cosmic dark energy or dark matter sounds, well, incredibly poetic. But to a scientifically literate listener, it also sounds a bit like New Age pseudoscience.
That's a fair point.
Right,
Mhm.
because dark energy is a measurable macroscopic phenomenon that astrophysicists observe pushing galaxies apart. Are they seriously suggesting my soul is literal dark energy?
No, and it is a really vital distinction to make. MGM is using structural analogies here. Look, astrophysicists look at the universe, see it expanding faster than it should, and say, well, there must be an invisible energy pushing it apart. We'll call it dark energy.
Right.
And they see galaxies spinning way too fast to stay together and say, there must be invisible mass providing extra gravity. We'll call it dark matter.
Okay.
MGM is basically looking at the human experience and saying, we have physical bodies bound by strict rules, yet we have infinite non-local imaginations and subjective awareness. There must be an invisible structure bridging those two realities. The framework just uses the behavior of the quantum realm to explain the subjective experience of infinite potential.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if my body is bound by strict, predictable classical physics, where dropping a glass breaks it every single time,
Yeah.
and my spirit is this chaotic, non-local quantum mist of infinite possibility where anything can happen.
Yes.
How on earth do these two entirely different rule books communicate without just breaking the universe?
Well, that tension is exactly where modern physics hits a massive brick wall. It's the entire reason we don't currently have a widely accepted theory of everything in mainstream science today.
They just don't mix.
No, they don't. We cannot find the mathematical bridge to connect the smooth universe of general relativity, the macroscopic, predictable solid, with the bumpy, probabilistic universe of quantum mechanics, which is the microscopic spirit. They fundamentally refuse to talk to each other.
Which means we need a missing link, something that can actively translate the quantum mist into the classical solid.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is that MGM's model proposes a radical solution to this fundamental physics problem. The mind is the missing interworking layer.
The mind, not the brain, right?
Right. Not the biological brain, which is part of the solid body, but the mind itself.
And the framework maps the mind to dark matter. Let's really explore that metaphor, because we can't see dark matter, we can't touch it. But it provides the gravitational scaffolding that holds entire galaxies together.
Exactly. Without it, the physical matter of the universe would just fly apart into complete chaos.
So your mind functions as the exact same kind of invisible scaffolding for your personal reality. I mean, you cannot put a thought under a microscope.
No, you can't.
You cannot weigh a memory or measure the physical dimensions of an ambition. Yet the gravitational pull of your mind is precisely what dictates how your physical body moves through the physical world.
That's a great way to put it. If the body is solid and the spirit is gas, the mind operates as a liquid. It is the ultimate transition state. Fluid, adaptable.
It takes the shape of its container.
Yes, your specific body, your specific environment, but it possesses no fixed physical form of its own.
And because it's a fluid transition state, it gets to play by both sets of rules, doesn't it?
It does. It exhibits a classical and quantum dualism. It functions classically in the sense that we can actually track electrical impulses and chemical reactions in the brain that correlate with thought. But the mind also possesses undeniable quantum properties.
Like what?
Well, think about the human ability to hold a superposition of multiple conflicting ideas or choices in your head simultaneously right up until the exact moment you make a decision.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like trying to decide whether to quit a job or not.
Exactly.
In your mind, you are simultaneously the person who quits and travels the world and the person who stays and gets a promotion.
Right.
Both of those realities exist as pure potential in the liquid mind right up until you take a physical action.
The liquid mind is the bridge. It actively translates the probabilistic, entangled nature of the spirit into the deterministic local action of the body.
Okay, but if my mind is just passively bridging these two worlds, I'm basically just a cosmic bystander. Is this model saying I'm just sitting here watching the universe happen to me, or does the observer actually steer the ship?
Oh, you definitely steer the ship.
So if my mind is constantly translating the mist of possibility into the solid of reality, I actually have a say in what gets translated.
Yes, and that brings us to the real dynamic mechanism of the entire framework, the cybernetic loop. You can essentially think of the mind as a phase transition
A
chamber.
phase transition chamber. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. MGM takes a famous concept from quantum mechanics called the Copenhagen interpretation, which basically suggests that the mere act of observing a quantum system collapses its wave function from multiple possibilities down into one single reality.
And they apply that directly to human psychology.
Precisely.
So the state of reality is constantly shifting based on the quality of the observer, meaning you.
Yes. The model argues there are essentially two paths the cybernetic loop can take. Let's look at the unconscious path first. For most people, this phase transition chamber acts as a one-way valve. The flow only goes downward.
So that's spirit condensing into matter.
Right. The vast, infinite superposition of the spirit, all that pure potential we talked about, is automatically and entirely unconsciously collapsed by the mind into a single, rigid, physical reality.
Wow.
And because the person doing the observing isn't actually aware that they're the ones collapsing the wave function, they just look at the solid reality around them and assume it's just happening to them.
They feel like victims of a deterministic universe. I mean, imagine someone stuck in a deeply unfulfilling routine. They wake up, commute, work a job they resent, come home, and sleep.
Right.
They look at the physical matter around them, their bank account, their boss, their apartment, and they assume that is the absolute limit of what is possible for them. In cosmic terms, physical matter only makes up about 5% of the universe, but the unconscious observer assumes that 5% is all there is.
Exactly. They are living what the text calls the solid life.
Mhm.
Heavy, inflexible, bound by strict cause and effect.
They are completely disconnected from the 95% of reality that is pure potential.
They are.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the framework doesn't just leave us trapped in that solid life. There is also the conscious path.
Yes, the alternative.
For a highly conscious person, this liquid mind stops being a one-way valve and becomes a bidirectional pump. This introduces the mechanics of evaporation and condensation.
Let's really break down how this works practically, starting with evaporation. This is the upward flow. The model suggests that through highly conscious thought, you actually heat the liquid of your mind. You send intention back upward into the realm of spirit.
Like boiling water turning back
Yeah.
into steam.
Yes.
But what does heating the mind actually look like? It isn't just magic or wishful thinking, right?
No, not at all. It's focused, rigorous attention. Think of a persistent fear you have, say a fear of public speaking.
Sure.
In the solid state, you accept it as a fixed physical reality. You say, I am biologically incapable of speaking in front of a crowd. I will freeze.
Right.
But by actively questioning that belief, by analyzing it, doing exposure therapy, and deeply visualizing a different outcome, you are injecting energetic heat into the thought.
You are uncollapsing a fixed reality.
Yeah.
You take a localized physical limitation in your life, and through conscious intention, you literally evaporate it back up into the quantum field of the spirit.
Exactly. You put that specific aspect of your life back into a state of superposition, where all outcomes are suddenly possible once again.
You return the solid ice back to the mist. And then, once you've influenced that quantum field with your conscious evaporation, the cycle continues with condensation, the downward flow.
Right.
That newly influenced energy recondenses back down through your liquid mind. But because you change the energetic input, it settles into a completely different physical manifestation in your solid reality.
The wave function collapses again, yes, but this time it collapses into a physical action or reality you intentionally shaped. You don't freeze on stage, you speak clearly.
In this model, true mastery of life isn't just sitting back and watching a fixed universe unfold around you. Mastery is actively tuning the frequency of what condenses into your physical life. You evaporate the limitations, and you intentionally condense new possibilities.
It's a profoundly empowering view of human agency, isn't it? It makes you an active participant in the creation of physical matter.
It is incredibly empowering. But let's be real for a second here.
Okay.
If evaporating my limitations and condensing a better reality just requires focused, conscious thought, why is it so incredibly hard?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Why are people who spend years reading self-help books, meditating, and trying desperately to be conscious still feeling totally stuck in that heavy, solid life? If the pump is supposed to be bidirectional, What is actually breaking down inside the machinery?
Well, this raises an important point, and MGM's framework actually provides a very specific structural answer to this. It has to do with a hidden mechanism in the mind that can easily get clogged.
Clogged with what?
In this model, the subconscious mind acts as the surface tension of the liquid mind.
Surface tension. Like the invisible, resilient film on top of a pond that allows a water bug to just walk right across it without sinking.
Exactly like that. It is the absolute boundary. It is the exact razor-thin point of contact where the gas of the spirit touches the liquid of the mind.
Okay, I'm following.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about what happens when the surface of a body of water is covered in a heavy, thick layer of oil.
The oil repels the water.
Right. The liquid underneath cannot easily evaporate into the air because the oil traps the heat. And the moisture in the air cannot easily penetrate and condense cleanly into the liquid below. It hits the oil and it either disperses or just gets contaminated.
So let's ground this in human psychology. If my subconscious is dirty or heavy meaning, it is just full of unresolved trauma, deep-seated survival fears, or rigid belief systems I inherited from my childhood and never actually questioned. The trauma acts exactly like an impenetrable layer of oil on the surface of my liquid mind.
Yes. The pure, infinite potential of the spirit cannot condense clearly into physical reality. It gets distorted on the way down.
Wow.
You might consciously want a healthy relationship, for instance, but as that potential condenses through a subconscious layer of, say, abandonment fear, it manifests physically as self-sabotaging behavior.
And I imagine it works in reverse, too. Your conscious mind cannot easily evaporate its intentions upward. The heat of your conscious thought hits that heavy subconscious surface tension and just bounces straight back down. You try to think positively, you try to uncollax a limitation, but the surface tension won't let the intention through to the quantum field. You are essentially boiling water with a lid clamped tightly on top of the pot.
Which is incredibly frustrating, and this completely reframes the entire purpose of psychological healing. Doing therapy, processing your trauma, building rigorous self-awareness in this framework that isn't just about, feeling better or managing your symptoms.
Right.
It is a mandatory physics mechanic.
You are literally unclogging the cybernetic loop. Healing is the difficult, often painful process of skimming the debris and oil off the surface of your liquid mind.
Yes.
You are clearing the surface tension so that evaporation, your intention, and condensation, your manifestation, can happen without any friction.
And by framing consciousness this way, MGM's model elegantly addresses one of the grandest philosophical mysteries in quantum mechanics.
The measurement problem.
The measurement problem, yes. The question of why the simple act of a human looking at a quantum particle forces it to choose a location. Why does observation change reality?
Traditional physics struggles with that question so much because it implies humans are mathematically significant. It completely shatters the illusion of an objective, independent universe.
Right.
But this framework just embraces it. Why does looking change it? Because the observer, your mind, the dark matter, is the mandatory bridge. Matter literally cannot exist as a solid unless the spirit condenses through you. And the spirit cannot be known, it cannot experience itself unless matter evaporates back up through a conscious witness. The universe structurally requires you to function.
It's beautifully symmetrical.
So what does this all mean? If we pull all the way back, we started this deep dive talking about the theory of everything as a cold, static mathematical equation.
Yeah.
But if we follow MGM's conceptual map to its logical conclusion, the ultimate theory isn't math at all.
No, it isn't.
It is a living, breathing process. It is the infinite dynamic circulation of energy, constantly moving between the pure potential of the cosmos and the physical reality of the body, driven entirely by your own consciousness, acting as the vital fluid bridge. You are the transition chamber.
It fundamentally changes how you view your everyday actions. You are not a passive victim of a solid, classical reality. You are the exact mechanism through which quantum potential becomes physical experience.
But as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over. Something this framework implies that pushes the boundaries even further.
Okay, let's hear it.
If your individual mind is constantly evaporating possibilities and condensing your reality based on your personal level of consciousness and the cleanliness of your own surface tension,
Right.
what happens to the fabric of physical reality when you remember you aren't the only observer?
The implications of a shared reality.
Exactly. What happens when 8 billion conscious observers are all trying to evaporate and condense entirely conflicting intentions, fears, and traumas at the exact same time?
It's staggering to think about.
Is our shared global reality just the chaotic negotiated settlement of billions of overlapping wave function collapses. If we are all projecting our internal surface tension out into the world, maybe the current state of our physical planet is exactly the reality our collective subconscious has forced to condense.
That really suggests that if we genuinely want to change the solid reality of the world, we first have to clean the surface tension of the global mind.
The ultimate group project. It's a lot to think about the next time you feel stuck in a routine or find yourself lost in a daydream. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mind, the cosmos, and the incredibly fluid bridge between them. Stay curious, keep questioning the solid world around you, and as always, keep diving deep.